everybody. Welcome to the Highly Suspicious Podcast. We are reporting once again live from the Trap House. My name is Louie.
My name's Preston.
I got a little dyslexic with the intro there.
I didn't even notice. It's a drinking episode.
I'm going to start rearranging shit and see if you notice.
We got a little chemical cocktail going on right now.
Water
yeah.
and burb.
Yeah, we're letting Axel breathe today.
No, we're not.
Louie's killing Axel right now.
Sorry,
as we speak.
Sorry, buddy.
Good dog. Anyway.
Axel, the resident axolotl.
Our sage.
We're not letting him breathe so we can have better waveforms. But you're not complaining because you benefit off of the suffering of animals all the time.
That's true. That's true.
He's not suffering. He's just chilling in
He's
there.
just vibing. He's just holding his breath, which he's apparently good at.
He's got Gary in there.
Is there a snail in there?
It's the fake Gary. Like the actual plastic, like, Gary toy for him that we think he fucks.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
You've, seen him try to dominate the plastic snail?
We haven't seen it, but we just got an inkling. We've got an inkling about it.
You just see it in his eyes.
Yeah.
He's a deviant.
If you all don't know what an axolotl is, look at the fuck up.
Yeah, please look that shit up. Give yourself context. You could be very confused right now.
It's so funny that everyone comes over here and they come in here and they're like, whoa,
what the fuck is that, bro?
It's a fish. It's an amphibian, actually.
He's a salamander.
He doesn't like when you misgender him like that. He's not a fish. He's an amphibian. That's a lie. I call him a fish all the time. He likes
He's
what I call
kind of
him
a fish. He's got gills, I think. He
He
definitely don't breathe air.
He be
like
acting
that.
fishy sometimes. Like when he tries to creep up on Pierce because he's his prey.
He does not fuck with Pierce.
I don't know what it was, but just one time it looked like he was trying to get him.
Trying to scrap. He could tell Pierce is a tough guy. He was trying to duke it out.
He was trying to be the toughest guy.
Establish dominance. Yeah.
Because he knows that he's better than me.
Axel said, no, I'm Dirty Dan. So this week, we're going to talk about AI and possibly crossing it with human brain cells, which doesn't that just sound like a bad idea right off the bat? Like you put those thoughts together and it's just a whole lot of nope.
This is like the 5th or 6th time we talked about AI on this show.
But it's just good content.
But that one time where we were talking about, I think that was the episode with Pierce where we were talking about like AI art.
Yeah.
And that's when
very
you were talking
controversial.
about like a supercomputer using human brain intelligence basically as like its computer.
So basically the way that this would be made is they're calling it an organoid intelligence or OI instead of an artificial intelligence.
Interesting.
An emerging field where researchers are developing biological computing using 3D cultures of human brain cells. So basically growing brain cells in a petri dish and growing them as like designed to be a mini brain. And brain machine interface technologies. That's such a weird chain of words.
You know,
they call them organoids. These organoids share aspects of brain structure and function. So they have like a brain structure similar to your own. Where there's different synapses making stronger connections as you learn things. And they would essentially serve as biological hardware and could be more efficient than current computers running on AI programs. The vision of OI is to use the power of the biological system to advance the field of life sciences, bioengineering, and computer science. Lena Smirnova, cool name, a researcher at JHU or Johns Hopkins University, an author on the paper, wrote an email to Motherboard, which is run by Vice, which is where all this information is coming from.
I love Vice.
But
Vice
this is not like technology that's going to be used tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, but in the very near future, they could be making computers using brain cells.
I think I've got a conspiracy about that. But before I say that, I think it's crazy that they're doing this. I think this could be...
It's crazy that they view it as a thing that could be better than existing technology.
it would gotta be, right?
But isn't that also crazy that, that's an actual, small brain? Where do you think, the consciousness is stored? Do you think that consciousness is stored in the brain? Or, is it just your soul that is your conscious, existence?
I don't think that... I guess in a way it is stored in your brain, but the actual, gray matter doesn't actually matter.
It's just a body.
That's a canvas
Yeah.
behind which there's electrical signals, chemicals, all types of crazy shit that we don't even really understand, bro.
Yeah.
So it's crazy that we're even thinking about doing shit like this, but...
Couldn't that be, a being at some point?
That's just what I was about to say.
That's just
the
fucked
next
up.
logical step is if you can have a brain that's a computer, you start putting...
Our brains are just computers anyway.
But if
that's a whole existence right there.
But if you start putting computer brains into, artificially grown, GMO grown shit...
Yeah.
You could, grow, a human body.
Yeah, at that point.
And if you could do
or you could build
brain,
a human body and it would be like a robot, but it would just be petri dish grown muscle tissue and petri dish grown hearts and blood cells and shit like that.
You could make that like a person.
That's basically. Have you played Fallout 4? No,
I've played some.
That's like synths, where it's just 100% engineered organs and skin and shit like that. They bleed, but it is a robot. It has a brain, but it is a artificial grown brain.
Yeah.
And then they do have a chip, but it's sort of like a control thing. The people who've made them can just control them using this chip because it blocks certain free will shit.
And that's a little bit different because at root that's still kind of a person. But think about this.
If it's a person inside of a computer or inside of something else that is not a person, if you're using it to guide missiles, that's obviously artificial intelligence is gonna definitely be used for missile guiding technology and
it's gonna
shit
be used for
that.
a bunch of shit.
For a bunch of military shit. So you could just
Skynet.
or you could just have a person that is a tank.
Let's talk about this. So, weeks and months ago, on that same show I was just talking about, we were talking about how at some point there's going to be a civil rights dispute about
especially
artificial
if it's
intelligence.
Brain cells.
Now we can kind of write off AI as not humans, not anything that we need to worry about in that capacity.
Or they're rights.
The only form that they're in is the chat GDP shit.
Yeah, that's a great life right there. I'd love to just sit and talk to people and inform them all day compared to working.
But think about how inhuman that is, where we could make artificial intelligence that is, for all intents and purposes, a human. It walks like a human, it talks like a human, it looks like a human. The only difference is that it will not be made of man. It will be made of a bunch of grown shit in labs.
Chemicals and
their brain wouldn't even be
shit
there.
Like that.
It would be kind of the same thing, where it would be something created. So
kind of a Frankenstein situation there, where it's it's life, but it's not life in the traditional sense. Does something that has not been born have a soul? Or if it's being made and, knowing humanity, it's not going to be they're growing a artificial, child. It would be an artificial, grown-ass adult
machine
that they would put together.
Yeah.
It would not grow up.
Yeah, it wouldn't...
Ever. It would just exist.
It wouldn't activate and be goo goo gaga.
Yeah.
It would be hello, my name is Frank. I am here to take over your planet.
It'd be wild.
Okay. Going back to my conspiracy, then we can move on from this. Agree or disagree? There have been crazy developments in artificial intelligence within the past year.
Yeah. It's become publicly accessible in a way that it has never been. That's just a fact.
The voice shit,
That's gone crazy
the
recently.
visual shit that we got That was less than a year
Also,
ago.
deepfakes go crazy now, and who's to say that you can't
Video
teach
deepfakes?
You can't teach an AI to make deepfakes. You know, you could totally teach an AI to be really good at Photoshop and really good at editing, and
it would be able to
make a deepfake. You would basically input what you do to make a deepfake into an AI, and then it would just run it over top of videos. That's how you get like the goofy filters on some apps and shit.
Think about how
it's just an algorithm tracking shit.
Think about the trend of animation over the years. Back when it was like Walt Disney, Mickey Mouse on the steamboat type of shit.
Hand drawn.
It was them drawing every single frame, and they basically used it as like a flip book, right?
Yeah. It's a very similar concept.
And over time, we've used so much more technology to make it less intensive for the cartoon. So the computer's been doing more and more of that. I can foresee a world where animators are getting cut out more and more, and it becomes more of a thing where it's like, yeah, this robot can fucking...
I was going to say, those AI paintings? You just input some plot points or some shit like that.
What you want.
And it just makes it. It's literally like the one that I talked about on that episode was basically like Space Titanic. That's kind of what it looked like. And I'm sure they could have just put something like that into a generator, and it would have been like, okay, here's you on a spaceship, and there's like classy 1950s dining shit and cocktail dresses. Like, what more could you want? That's a good generation right there.
So
you could totally just make movies, and it's just you input the script into a generator, and it makes your scenery.
Going back to my original point, it's hard to carry on the train of thought when I've been thinking all day. But what I was saying was the advances in artificial intelligence have been fucking exponential within the past year. And going back to another conspiracy theory, you remember the Roswell conspiracy theory that because of all the shit that we found on the downed spaceship, technology jumped after that?
Yeah.
What if we already have this brain artificial intelligence shit, and that's the reason why we've been able to make such a leap in it recently? Because it hasn't been such a leap in, like, processing. It hasn't been, like,
like there's any new computer chips or anything like that.
I don't think
it's just the AI is actually starting to take off and like generate unique ideas and shit like that.
That's my conspiracy theory.
I think
I'm not saying that's
why
true.
It's become just more
I think that's
popular
very
for sure. Like 100% has taken off in popularity, and I'm sure that's why it's been researched and developed more.
What if they've just been planting the seeds to make it more normal for us?
We could never know, Louis.
Because
we could never know. Like any good conspiracy theory.
Those AI-generated pictures, those were used in memes for like months.
That's true. That is true. And then it was realized that it was an AI.
That voice
That's
shit,
fucking accurate, actually.
That's
a good point.
We're alarmists, so we're talking about how that could be used to create like a false panic in the world.
It could create fake news.
But how it's been
that
used,
would look real.
How it's been used has been the fucking, Joe Rogan playing Minecraft with like Barack Obama and Donald Trump.
Yeah. But it's still really interesting. Like, it is wild because it does sound like them.
So they could be introducing it to the public in waves like that, so we're more acclimated to it. Doesn't that
so it's less noticeable over time?
Because there's less alarm.
It's not just where did this random technology come from. It's sort of slowly integrated.
We would be more scared of the AI if they announced this brain AI shit first.
Mm-hmm.
Before we've had all this other shit where we've been using it firsthand. Like Siri. You remember when Siri was just a nifty gadget?
It was so dumb, too, at one point. And now, like Alexa and Siri are both kind of... The way that they function is sus,
crazy.
And it is kind of crazy.
I don't fuck with it.
No.
What do you get an Alexa in your house?
I have one, but it's only in the kitchen. It's not out in the living room where it could hear all of my secrets, all right?
Yeah, all your conversations.
It is in the kitchen, and I use it as my Bluetooth speaker to just vibe or set a timer. It is a tool. It is not a part of my household.
The kitchen would be a good place to keep it.
Yeah.
My kitchen would be
Detached.
too close to my living room, so I wouldn't fuck with that.
Yeah.
So,
if they start putting AI in our phones and shit like that, like if the next
they
model
do.
of Apple has like a straight up like ChatGPT, because basically right now it'll just look up stuff for you. If it started generating its own sort of responses based off context with you, that'd be wild.
Okay, before we transition, I know that I don't want to talk about this all day because I have something else that I just thought about that I want to talk about. But did you hear about the Neuralink update?
Is there an update?
There's been a huge Neuralink update. So Elon Musk went to like the FDA to get them to approve like early human trials where you know
that's
they'd
crazy.
be able to test.
I'm not
it
ready
out
for
on
that.
People.
Hang
on,
shit.
hold your horses. Hold your horses. So it did not get approved.
Fuck yeah. Oh my god.
FDA said
absolutely not.
You know, call me old fashioned, but I like my AI in my kitchen and nowhere else. They said the exact same thing that you just said. I don't need AI in my fucking head, bro.
Yeah, that might be a little too much.
I got Bose headphones. I got Spotify. I don't need a fucking chip in my head to do stuff like that.
Damn. Well, that's good news. Thank you for some good news on the man-made horrors beyond my comprehension list. Honestly, sometimes the man-made horrors are winning. All right?
Yeah. So, okay. You want to talk about this solar flare thing real quick? Because I don't know if we have a lot to say on it.
Honestly, I'd say edit that part out and let's just go straight to our musical intermission.
We're not even 20 minutes in.
Okay. Solar flares it is.
I mean, we don't have to do a whole diatribe on it.
I do need to pull it back up.
To say on it. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you.
Apocalypse Watch. Welcome,
basically, yeah.
Welcome back to the
Welcome
show
to the
about the
Doomsday
end
Clock.
of the world. Do you feel alone in that you're the only person seeing the world in? Don't be.
We're all right here with you.
Because we're seeing this shit too, buddy.
I am also tired of living through historical times. All right? It is, apparently, the sun is about to become more active than it has in the past decade. And it could, you know, obviously lead to power outages, grounded flights, auroras. Auroras would be cool. This is from Insider Science on Instagram. The sun may be waking up. That's a bad way to put it. But it could realistically cause problems for Earth. It would be very interesting to experience shit like that. Because solar flares are honestly one of the largest threats to our technologically based society. Like, people drive electric cars. Imagine if a solar flare hit and your electric car is just fucked. If every single Tesla just crashed right now. If every single plane fell out of the sky. You know?
It wouldn't be just Teslas. It would be every car. Because every car has a battery that you need to fucking...
That started up.
Keep working.
Yeah.
So, if there was some shit like that, bro...
Well, if you're driving your car, you could leave your car running and it would work. But once your car is out of gas, you are fucked. Because your battery would be... I don't know. Is it...
You'd also have to keep moving.
That? Is it like that? Does it wipe out all electricity? I thought it was like an EMP, basically.
An EMP would do what you're saying it is.
I don't think that it would take out the battery in a car. Would it?
If it would take out a battery in a Tesla, yeah.
But the Tesla's running on the battery.
The car is running on the battery too, boy.
The battery in your car is not used to start your engine though.
If the battery in your car
dies,
your car is not going to turn on.
But how would it wipe it out? It's not like connected to the grid thing. You get what I'm saying? Maybe I'm wrong.
Why would the Tesla go out then if...
Because it's
the
actually
car would
100% running on electricity.
But it
have an
wouldn't
engine.
be... It's not on the grid either.
But it...
That doesn't... I
It's
don't
like
understand.
your phone. It's like your phone. Your phone's not connected to, like, the power grid. But your phone would be wiped out by an EMP. But that's because it runs on electricity like 100%. So I don't know if, like, a regular car would be wiped out. We should look this up.
So, one thing that a car battery does is when you're moving around,
It helps start your
charges
combustion.
it up.
It's your spark plugs
So,
are operated
if
by
your
your
car was-
battery.
I feel like if your car was already moving,
Your acceleration and shit like that.
you'd be able to use the battery for some
Would
period of time.
an EMP stop
But if your car was just
a car?
off or even like not moving, like it wouldn't come back. It would be a wrap.
Interesting.
What's it say?
This is very interesting. An actual EMP exposure, a combustion engine vehicle would glide to a stop and require the driver to restart them, basically.
But they would still work.
Yes, after the initial EMP.
Interesting. And I'm sure there would be some wrecks when every fucking
Oh, yeah.
car stops.
Oh, for sure. But still, that's also one of those times where it's like, I don't want a like bionic limb or
Yeah.
like a chip in my brain or anything like that. If you have a pacemaker and a solar flare hits, you're fucked.
Bruh, if even a magnet gets too close to you, you're fucked.
You're just fucked.
Imagine if there was a magnet next to your head and the little chip's trying to wiggle its way out of your brain.
No, honestly though, like a solar flare would be probably one of the largest, besides like a nuclear war, because another thing that nukes do is release an EMP.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only other thing that could just totally wipe out our society.
Okay, so...
Because there's no zombie apocalypse or anything like that. Like,
we know that society's gonna be fucked if
in the
we
collapse,
lose all technology. So, here's my question. How many days would it take with no phone, no computers, no anything like that before the world just gets plunged into total chaos? Would it be like the first day?
possibly. Some people would definitely take it as like a sign. Honestly, some Christians would probably be like, it's the end times, and start doing some crazy culty shit.
Pray for repentance, like Derek said.
Yeah. A lot of people would be dead. A lot of towns and buildings could be like obliterated off the map because shit would just crash. In The Last of Us recently, there is a scene where they're going through like Atlanta, or it's Boston, and there's like a plane crash through a skyscraper, and there's just this wings sort of sticking out of the ground. It'd be like that. There would be a bunch of buildings taken out. There'd be a bunch of collateral, and I don't think that the first day of collapse would be even similar at all.
You think it would be
to
gradual?
the day before? No, it would be kind of instantaneous.
Yeah.
If a solar flare hit,
because of planes,
everything's wiped out. Everything's wiped out all over the earth.
I think just off of people not being able to get
I think
on
some
TikTok,
people
would be tweaking.
Oh my god.
People would lose their fucking minds being away if their phone was gone.
I do think
the first day
that
would be pissed.
the first day would not just be like, you know, later in Walking Dead where there's like, the threat is not zombies at a certain point, it is other people, it is raiders, it is pillagers, shit like that.
Yeah, that
those gangs
situation
would not
zombies.
form on day one, but maybe after a week or a month, there would be gangs and there would be like riots and shit like that within the first week.
I could be a good bruiser for a gang, you know,
for sure,
especially in the post-apocalypse, because I mean I'm not particularly threatening if you know me, but I'm a big guy.
Yeah, you can look intimidating.
If I T-posed at somebody and was like, give me your rations.
Give me your rations.
They would be like, please don't hurt me.
I do think
giant white man.
I do think the government would have a sort of plan as what to do. So there would be sort of enclaves of like military camps and shit like that. Like our Coast Guard would have a plan for a societal collapse situation, and they would
the Coast Guard
form
would
a
have
collective
their shit together the most. I feel like
for sure.
Which is
there
the
would
thing
be
in
military presence in a collapsed society. But honestly, my first go is you pack up if you don't have a like go bag ready, you pack up your essentials. You pack your duffel bag. I'm glad I have a duffel bag. Mm-hmm. It's a very efficient way to travel. If your car is not working, but we just determined that it would after the EMP, you get that. You try to get some gas. You get a weapon of some sort, obviously. You get some food, and you get the fuck out of whatever city you live in. You go out to the country, because the further away you are from more people, the safer you're going to be, for sure. Yeah. That is my plan, at least, is get the fuck away. Get my people, because I do think there is something about a group that is safer. You're on the list, Louis. All right?
Yeah.
We're getting the fuck out of Louisville, and we're going out to the boonies to survive.
Yeah.
The only people you'll need to intimidate are the rednecks.
I could intimidate the rednecks. I feel like my voice is deep enough to where I could be like, hey, who do you think you are?
You hit 'em
just
with
talking like anime quotes and make it sound way more powerful than I am.
You hit them with you think you hear something in your house and you're like, hey, yo.
hey.
Yo.
That was the ghost story I told you where I heard footsteps upstairs and I was like, hey.
Sometimes you just gotta throw on that I'm a man voice, get the fuck out.
There was this Jordan Peele movie, Us, which I have not been able to stop thinking about since I watched it, and it was like a month ago. And there's a scene in it where there's like some people outside their crib acting all menacing and shit, and the dad, who's kind of a puss, goes out there and he's like, hey.
That's just real. That's what you do.
Get off of my property, or otherwise we're gonna have a problem.
That's just what you do, though. Like, sometimes nobody teaches you how to, like, be on guard,
But it's innate.
Everybody's gonna have the same reaction.
All
right. It's musical intermission time. What am I listening to today?
Music time.
I've been listening to a lot of good shit.
Nice.
On the rebound about a handle with father figure, no doubt about it. It's just some shit to have stress on the chest reinforced. Feels like I'm being sniped by the devil's force, of course. Since I think nobody stores is self-dependent, I'm forced to cross and walk on my own too. Beating think of ways to invest in my business and be my own boss. I got the whole world in my head. I wanna live lovely with a beautiful wife in my sheets. Yeah, and mustache and grants blown up like those cars from Japan. I got the whole world in my head. I wanna live lovely with a beautiful wife in my seats. Yeah, and mustache and grants blown up like those cars from Japan. The stress and frustrations of life with trace sights gives me strong pains in my heart like a knife for strikes. Got me trying to fight myself. So I seek on a journey for the remedy, and for me it be the riches and wealth. Sometimes I have sleepless nights, nightmares creeping right up on me. So I try to fight. I was getting haunted by insomnia, and Satan was trying to talk to me. He was in the streets of the beast, so calling ya. Life's a 24/7, the stressor, the pressure. Guess the average nigga to talk some cheaper, be the stress reliever, is the anesthesia. My brand props the preacher, much love he's to receive up. It's also my teacher, Xavier's my reacher. Touch me where I need it in my heart. Plus I'm married to the mic now, and nothing could tear us apart. Look deep into us and realize y'all really need to learn that Byron Lasco's coming to a place near you through this rap game, and we all.
This shit's fucking good. We just listened to Book of Life by High Tech. I can't really find much information about this artist or about this album. DJ Shock, SHOK, presents the music High Tech's Golden Era singles.
Can you find who's in the group?
High Tech.
Definitely some different.
It was
people.
definitely more than one person. High Tech is only found on one thing released in 2020, and it's DJ Shock presents the music High Tech's Golden Era singles, and it's just 90s hip hop, but it's released in 2020. There's no information on it on Spotify about
shit like that.
Monthly listeners. But I'm going to look up Parallax
There's nothing on Genius about
Cruise.
it too, either.
There's a sample of Barbara Mandrell's Woman to Woman on this song, which might be that like dreamy, wind chimey sort of sound. And I fuck with the whole violin shit in there. It is such a vibe in this song. And it's a good, like, vibing, driving around sort of song. Shit that I always talk about, loving to listen to. But some of the lyrics also kind of go hard. Like, just the chorus being, I got the whole wide world in my hands. You know? Like, that hits you.
So, apparently, High Tech is only one person.
Interesting.
Because it definitely sounded like there was more than one motherfucker on there. I don't know if it was the type of thing where it was a feature that just wasn't listed. Because in the 90s, you would have a lot of...
That's true. That does happen.
Features where it would just be random-ass motherfuckers, and you'd be like, damn, who the fuck is this? That's what Tupac had a lot of, where it's just like... He'll have a song where he'll
Snoop
have
would
like
be on there, and
20 seconds.
there would be no featuring Snoop or whatever.
Snoop, but like they'd also have like 20 motherfuckers that you'd never even heard of and wouldn't even be on any other song, some shit like that. But it says that he's 46 now, so that lines up. And it said that he's best known for his
Tony
work with
Cantrell. Interesting name.
It says he's best known for his work with Talib Kweli.
Yeah,
which is really interesting.
That is interesting
because I felt like I heard some influence in that song. What if it was Talib Kweli in that song?
That would be crazy.
Dense enough where we didn't catch it. But this is the second time, Preston, where you have offended me on this show. It is such a slap in the face when you pull out some fucking heat like this that I can't even intend to pretend to have heard of this shit, bro. I have never heard of High Tech. I've never heard even like a mention. I can't even say I know anything.
It was the
about
same
it.
until I heard this song. I kind of want to listen to that whole album because this song is fire. But it is interesting because this dude's from Cincinnati, Ohio. This is not, I think it's so interesting that between East Coast and West Coast iconic rap, you have random motherfuckers from Columbus and the Midwest dropping straight fire. Like, and it is a shame that I had not heard of this artist until very recently.
I gotta talk about the rhymes, but do you think that because they were in Cincinnati, do you think that's kind of why they were overshadowed? Because
it's not West Coast or West Coast? Yeah.
People...
I do think that there are less prominent artists from anywhere other than like New York, Baltimore, Boston, all your big East Coast cities, or LA or Los Angeles, or not Los Angeles or LA, San Diego, or other shit in California or other parts of the West Coast. It is very interesting because I do genuinely think that the reason that artists from the Midwest are not as prominent is because those are the two major areas that produce rap. Otherwise, it's like Atlanta, and that's just where the record labels are and shit like that. That's not even like they're from there.
Isn't that fucking crazy how much geography matters in
for sure.
music? I wrote a whole paper on that for my music history class last year. There's literally infrastructure in certain places that just aren't in others. which make, homegrown talent like here leave here because they wouldn't become as wildly successful as they are if they didn't go somewhere where the money was, the opportunity was. But
it is it's kind of like if you want to make movies, you can't do that anywhere other than like Hollywood or New York,
But that's just the conception though, because
we do
both know,
like there are films being filmed here in Kentucky right now.
Mm-hmm.
I have a coworker that does like Hallmark movies, basically.
That's hilarious.
She's like an extra or shit like that in Hallmark movies as her hobby.
Lit as fuck.
It's awesome. I always ask her what's up, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm in."
When are we getting her on the show, bro?
I don't think I could.
A movie
She used to be a lawyer. She's a very interesting person. I think she's too cool for the show, honestly. Like, I couldn't get her on, I don't think.
That's funny as hell.
But,
a lot of people are too cool for the show. But that's okay. We're too cool for them.
She's talked about it before. She was like, yeah, there's just random motherfuckers on this movie. But
let's not sidebar too hard.
No.
But
I'm trying to get back to the music, too. I think this
But there's that Nick Cage movie that was filmed here.
That's true. I forgot about that.
That's called like The Parent or something, where all the parents in the world suddenly want to kill their children. That movie's crazy.
Me too.
But this is an example too of how you can be anywhere in the world that you can make good music. It's just a matter of marketing.
He's been releasing stuff
like
since 2001, and that also makes sense as to why he's not as popular, because 90s rap and hip hop was totally different. This would have been appreciated in the 90s. This was not what people were playing in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Like, at all.
And that's a shame.
So releasing his first solo album in 2001 definitely kind of fucks with his ability to catch an audience.
Because, like, the mid-2000s was a really bad time for rap. That was, like, the era of, like, ringtone rap.
Oh, my God.
And it was a bunch of, just a bunch of, like, dance songs, kind of.
Yeah.
The hip-hop kind of fell off for a period there. And then
hard.
And then there was a resurgence period where, there's, like, Kendrick and J. Cole and Drake and all of these giant artists.
Drake really just set the course for how hip-hop and rap were going to sound for a period of time.
He did.
And it was kind of bullshit. Like, as somebody who likes a very different sound, it's kind of bullshit. Because it's not, like, the best, honestly. I would say that this song, by somebody we've never really heard of before, is better than 90% of Drake's music. 99% of Drake's music, honestly.
I'm going to clean that up for you. It's the rapping we're talking about. This has better rapping than any
it is really
Drake
good.
music. And that's fine, because that's not really Drake's goal, is to be, like, the best rapper in the world.
Yeah.
But I love the fucking verses on this song.
They're good. They're really good.
That was the first listen, so I didn't catch everything. But I think they had... I don't know if it's multiple people or not. It sounds like it's multiple people. But each of the verses bring kind of a different vibe, because the first verse is very, like, regular. And I don't mean regular in a bad way. Like, it's talking about, like, guns and violence.
Yeah.
And, it sounds like some 90s grimy New York shit to me. And then the second verse...
That's what I love.
The second verse, he was talking about all this super crazy lyrical shit, and I don't even really know what he was saying. To all it may concern, it feels like we're cursed on earth since birth. We've automatically got our own pre-planned pot in a hearse.
He's talking about a lot of this song. I catch him talking about, like, fate and destiny shit.
That's what he's...
And feeling like he's already set out on a course in this life. And it might not be a great one either.
That's what he's talking about here. And then he says, so I search for salvation, wherein all I see is the mark of the beast.
Yeah.
The mark of the beast is like the Antichrist.
Yeah, the devil.
So he's talking about trying to search for God, and he keeps finding the devil. Of God.
Yeah. Well, and it's one of those, like, if you try to maintain positivity, sometimes in your life, things are not going to be positive. So if you're trying to set a positive intention, you might still be faced with harsh realities.
Mm-hmm.
It's some really real shit. Like, that's why the lyrics go crazy, because the flow's good. You know, I like hearing, like, it's not like they're crazy. Like, some artists can just go on a flow and not even breathe for a while. You can hear them, like, strain it in some parts, like, where they're catching their breath.
But
I
like that.
But I like that sound, because it's like, it kind of catches the emotion of it, too.
Yeah, the voice kind of gets more intense the longer the verse goes, because you're kind of getting tired, but it sounds fucking great when they do it like that.
One of the ones that I noticed that I thought was cool, not cool, but he says,
Interesting.
He says, my pops wasn't always sober. He was a drug addict and alcoholic, but I was a rhymeaholic.
Yeah, I liked Rhymeaholic, too. Rhymeaholic was really, like, nice. Like, a good way to snap.
The more I think about it, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I love when artists just give you a little sprinkle of, like, their realist, real-life shit in their music.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to put yourself out there like that. And talk about the realest shit that, you know, his pops was around, but he wasn't a fucking good father, and he probably helped him, you know, progress down this path that he's talking about.
But it's also interesting because at the very end of the song, he talks about... So he goes from talking about his dad to talking about his... He sort of talks about some of his struggles. Life's 24/7 of stressors, pressure, you know... And stress from diva, I'm assuming that just means, like, some girl. And it's anesthesia. Like, all of his stress is numbing to him. His grandpa's the preacher. Much love each to receive. He's also my teacher. Xavier's my reacher. Trust me where I need it in my heart. Plus, I'm married to the mic, and that nothing can tear us apart. Like, he's saying that even though he's got all this shit, he's still got somebody to help him see him through it, and he's still got, like, his goal.
It's interesting that he's a preacher, and he says that he was kind of helping him out, because you can definitely hear some religious themes.
I like the religious themes in this. I like a lot of... As somebody who's not religious either, it's very interesting that I like Ultralight Beam by Kanye. I like the sort of gospel music inspiration in that. I like religious, like, bars and shit. Because it's very impactful. It paints great imagery.
Yeah. But I also think it's crazy that,
you know, the idea of being, like, a preacher is you're, like, married to God. And he's saying that he's married to the mic.
He's not married to God, he's married to the mic. So, and nothing can tear them apart either. Like, he has to rap. You know? I like when an artist has that kind of drive. When they're like, no, this is what I need to be doing.
So, if you think about that, the male role models in his life, his father and his grandfather, his father being a drug addict and his grandfather being a godly person, being a rapper in a weird way is almost like being in between those two things.
Yeah. Like, you have a purpose, but it's not always like...
In a way, you are preaching, but you're also talking about, you know...
Some real life shit.
What he's talking about in his first verse, where he's talking about, you know, all this hard shit.
Yeah. Well, and it is sort of a contrast to a religious preacher, because religion generally tries to be positive.
Damn.
And sort of like, you know, forgive and forget and, you know, paint this sort of picture of a different world for yourself instead of facing your realities and saying, you know what, fuck that.
That's deep as hell the more I think about it.
It's just a great song. People need to listen to more shit like this.
Aesthetically, it was fucking great too. And I'm not going to have a whole big spiel about how fucked up it is that all this music is shielded from us pretty much, especially in an era where we were just talking about hip-hop wasn't doing the best. It's not like we were listening to better things.
Yeah, for sure.
People are just so adverse to anything new. Like, I feel like even now, like, people don't want to hear people talk about, you know, some shit like JPEG Mafia, some shit like Billy Woods, some shit that I like. I can't really talk about that with most people because it's just like, what?
Billy Wood's
Who?
great.
What?
Fucking great.
But anyways, so moving on, I gotta talk about some NBA shit. So
More NBA news.
So I don't know if you've seen any of this, and that's kind of fun about this because I can kind of bring some shit to you where you haven't even heard of it, and I'm like, damn, how have you not even heard of it? Because it's all I've fucking seen on my timeline. But Ja Morant, who's like a 20-year-old, he's a fucking superstar point guard, super athletic. He has some of the most entertaining highlights you'll ever see because he can jump like 10 feet in the fucking air. He can do it all. He's entertaining to watch. But he also went to Murray State.
Interesting.
Which is in Kentucky, so that's kind of cool. But he's got...
I've never heard of anybody coming out of Murray State.
Never.
Absolutely not.
But he is in some very big trouble. So it came out that there was a news report that someone was suing Ja Morant for assault.
Oh.
And if that was all the story was, I wouldn't even really be talking about it because, that's whatever. We hear about that shit all the time and it's fucked up. But it wasn't the run of the mill of assault. He was playing a pickup game in the middle of the summer and he was playing against like a 16-year-old. And apparently the 16-year-old, I don't even know if it was a 16-year-old. It might have been like an 18-year-old. But it was a young-ass fucking kid. Someone who was significantly younger than him. And he fucking apparently did something to piss Ja Morant off. So he fucking beat him up. And he flashed his gun at him.
Damn.
So,
holy shit.
Why a superstar NBA player with all the money in the world would need to flash a gun at somebody like that just to prove a point? It's kind of,
sus.
But that day, he was at the club, and he was doing what you do at the club, which is post some shit on your Instagram story.
Yeah. Trying to make the party fat.
And he was posing with the gun. He was doing like this, where he had the gun, the barrel of the gun, like on the side of his head. He was just kind of flexing it. And then he took it down very shortly after, but not before.
Bruh.
Everybody in the fucking world saw that.
That's such a dumbass sort of look, to
was
really
like,
be trying to flex like that.
I don't know what the point was, because it was literally like the same day that came out. Maybe the point was like, I got it on me, like, don't think that shit is sweet because it's basketball. But
I'm strapped up.
I just think it's so, whether he's about that life or not. Right?
Yeah.
Because I think that the conversation...
Sometimes you're just trying to look hard.
I think some people are trying to make that all the topic because I don't know if he's about that or not. It seems to me that he's not about that. But whether he's about that or not, and we all know what we're talking about when I'm saying about that. The type of guy who walks around with the strap that, uses it when they show it. But I think that it's fucking stupid to do some shit like that when you have all these brand deals that you're probably never gonna get now because you're doing some stupid shit like this.
That shit does matter a lot too. Like, why would you do something that stupid? That could ruin your career in this sort of day and age.
Your whole career.
And you're too young for that shit at fucking 20? Hell no.
Because I don't even know if he signed, like, his super big-ass contract yet. I'm pretty sure he's so fucking young that he hasn't even gotten the big money yet. And he's got, like, a Nike shoe deal and shit, which...
yeah, fair enough.
Nike's got...
But they could still drop him.
Yeah. Nike's got a shitty track record right now because they fucking had to drop Kyrie because he was on some anti-Semitic shit. And then they kind of replaced it with Ja. They were thinking that his brand was about to be kind of that replacement. Well, maybe not.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe not. If he's doing some stupid ass shit like this, I don't think it's going to be the end for him. But I saw today that because he was at an away game when he went to that club,
NBA has very strict rules about bringing firearms on like the private planes that the NBA uses. So I saw something today that says that they might suspend them for 50 games.
Holy shit.
So for reference, there's fucking 80 games in a season. So that would be like he wouldn't even be able to start the next season. If that happened. He would come back like midway through the next season. And
that is fucked.
And for what?
Yeah.
For
to look hard.
To convince people that you're really about that life. I don't give a fuck if he's about that life. Yeah. Obviously I'm a fucking suburban white kid in fucking Louisville, so my opinion might not matter as much.
But still, like,
no one cares.
Yeah.
Except for him. Bruh, if you looked bitched up in the media, does that really matter? Does that really matter if you're still getting shoe deals?
If that's how you value yourself, honestly.
You're not losing the shoe deals because your street image is fucked up.
Yeah.
In fact, you're losing the shoe deal for the opposite. So, yeah.
I don't know. People be dumb, you know?
Is that the moral of the story?
That is the moral of the story, is sometimes looking tough is not worth it. It's one of those, like in the movie, if it's like you have the chance to beat someone up in front of someone that you care about the opinion of, beating them up might not be the best move.
Yeah.
That person might not fuck with you if you go too hard, like if it's not really like that.
Yeah, right.
You know? But
all right,
I think that's all we got to say for today's episode.
For sure. Thank you all for listening.
We'll be back next Friday, and there will, as always, be a link in the bio. Wherever you're listening to this shit, please just click that bell, you know, leave a review, make the podcast bump up just a little bit. You know,
let's get trending.
Got to be some of you out there listening to this. You can do something even if you don't think you can.
We know we're not speaking in the void. I see the numbers. I know that you're listening. See the numbers. You're not sneaky listening to this. I know who you are.